Gang, I'm at work right now, man, but I can multitask. I'm taking these classes for work. But this video is called How I Started a Lifestyle of Criminality. Now, firstly, I would like to say that I was always uh, impoverished, right, for the most part, from birth till like a couple years, 3 years ago, right? It's times I have technically not been poor, but for the most part, yeah. But okay, so basically, man, we moved to Atlanta when I was like 10 years old. And before I had been hanging out with people that were not necessarily doing the right things, and I just didn't want to be a dishonest guy, right? I mean, I used to steal little things here and there, but when it came to like my little friends stealing hella candy from the store, that's not something that I wanted to do, right? I just didn't want to have anything to do with it. I didn't even want any of the candy. But as uh, we moved to Atlanta, and I realized that we were hurting. My dad would give me these cheap little shoes for like $50, and I had to wear them for like 2 years. I had the same backpack from fifth grade all the way till I was like 19. Things like that. I kept the backpack for sentimental reasons, of course, at some point. But this was in like eighth grade, right? The last week of school, the last 2 weeks of school, I started my business, right? My essayist business. Now, before that, I had always tried to do whatever I could to have to make a come up, man. I was just so primitive with it, man. I used to print out my own. I didn't even print them out, bro. I used to draw up um, lawn care service flyers, advertisements, and post them all through the neighborhood because we had just got a lawnmower, and I was trying to go door to door to get money and ask people to cut their grass. Never did one lawn, right? And it sucked. It was very discouraging. But at some point, I had a friend in middle school named Speedy. He was a white guy, football player, right? And he was like, "Hey, man, you're pretty smart. Could you write an essay for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, you got to give me a sample of your work because I don't want it to be obvious because I write different than you and ooh off the bam." So we started doing that. I wrote his essay. I wrote this other girl, Stephanie's essay, and Stephanie used to sell. She walked up to me one day and she was like, "Hey, Aaron, do you smoke?" And at that point, of course, I did not smoke. I was in eighth grade. I experimented with it one time. I found the cigarette butt and I smoked it. It burnt the out of my throat, and I just decided, nah, it's not for me, right? So Stephanie came up to me one day. She was like, "Do you smoke?" And I was like, "Yeah, whatever." So she handed me this big list, and it said cigarettes, $4, a gram of this, $10, this for this. And I was just looking at this, a fifth of vodka, $15. I'm just looking at this list like, oh, okay, you're really a hustler. But at the end of the day, I didn't really consider it. Now, the same friend, Speedy, now mind you, this is in Dunwoody. I went to Peachtree Charter Middle School, bro. This dude had money, man. His parents had money. So he was constantly asking me to do his homework, do essays, helping him cheat on tests. We came up with a system where he would cough or do something, make some kind of noise, and then one tap was A, two taps was B, three taps was C, four taps was D, right? He was paying me to help him cheat on the test. Some of the answers I would have to give him the wrong answer on purpose, so it wouldn't look like we were cheating somehow, even though we were like not even close to each other. We even did this at some point when we were across the room, right? Whatever the case may be. Now, at some point, Speedy asked me, he was like, "Hey, man, do you know where I can get some seeds?" And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, damn, no, I don't. But I told him, yeah, give me like a week, I will get you some seeds. So I'm going all through school buying bud, bro. And I took probably like $30. I went to this dude named Sean. He sold me some, and I was like, damn, there's no seeds in this. Then I went to this dude named Moses. Damn, it's no seasoning. And I went to this white boy. I forgot his name. Damn, it's no seasoning. And eventually, I think I did eventually, maybe the second bag. The second bag, I did find seeds actually, so scratch that from Sean. And I looked, I was like, all right, what do I do? And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna pick a number, $10 a seed, because I looked at this. I'm a nerd at this point, bro. So I looked it up, and I was like, okay, well, he could get a couple of ounces from each of these seeds. So I'm like, all right, should I do it for 100? Nah, he's not gonna give me $500 for 5 seeds. And I was like, all right. I told him, look, I'll give you $20. I mean, I'll give you one seed for $20, but I have five. Give me $50. This man was like, all right. I brought the seeds to school, gave him the seeds, and when he put that money in my hand, it was a whole different feeling. This is not essay money or writing your whole essay for $30 because that's legal. This is not cheating on the test, which is not necessarily legal, but it's still not illegal. But when he put that money in my hand, boy, oh boy, that changed my whole brain. Like if you're a fan of Simple the P and you go to his video called My First Trap, it was something like that. It was something like that because at the end of the day, bro, my dad he didn't raise me like that. Like he didn't raise me. I'm not saying he didn't raise me to be that, but he didn't raise me like that, right? And I didn't have a good understanding on what a man was. So in my mind, a man was a somebody who could generate their own currency, somebody who was independent, somebody who took care of their business. That was, I mean, it's not too different, but I thought the coolest type of man to be was a criminal because you're going into the world, you're not asking anybody for anything, you don't have to work for anybody. You're going, I didn't even know really what hustling really was. I didn't know where substances came from. I didn't know why there was danger. I knew people got harmed over doing deals, but I didn't know why. I didn't know this territory thing. So fast forward, I'm still doing my business. I'm still trying to buy the green, and so I didn't want to sell the bud because I was like, you know what? Eventually, I'm going to smoke this. So I would just get the bud, take it apart, keep the seeds, wrap it up, and I'm asking people like Elaine, like, hey, bro, did you know that you could get 400 something, 400 something grams, thousands of dollars? All you got to do is buy 10 seeds from me, $100. Boom. Now, eventually, I stopped doing right? And eventually I started smoking myself. But because I didn't have any way, because I was a child at the time, I didn't have any way of funding this habit. What do you think I did? Exactly. I started thinking of illegal ways to get money. So I didn't know how I was going to do this because I thought that, to be able to sell green, you have to have 100 customers and you got to be able to buy a pound at one time and bust that pound out. I had no game. I had no information until I met. I'm not even gonna say his name. I met the homie, bro. I'm gonna say it like that. I still know him to this day. I met the homie on the bus. Now there was a dude named Polo that went to my school. And now fast forward, this is in high school, and he was a shit starter, bro. He was a what is that called? He was a what is that called, bro? Instigator. He was an instigating, dirty ass little dude, bro. He was a year younger than us. I'm a freshman. So I asked him, I was like, hey, do you know anybody who sells bud that might want to buy some seeds? So he was like, oh, yeah, the homie. And I was like, oh, what's up, bro? Let me get two nickel bags. Okay, of course. Yeah, I'm showing my age. This is 2007, right? 2007. So I'm like 16, 15, 2006 then. And he was like, sure. And at this point, I'm still green, bro. I've only bought weed maybe like 2 or 3 times in my life. So I get the 2 bags, and he was like, "Let me see, Polo. Let me see what you got, man." And he was like, "These are." not nickel bags, bro. He shorted you because it's supposed to be a gram. And I went and I was like, hey, bro, did you short me, man? And he was like, nah, man, what are you talking about? And I was like, I think you shorted me. Can I get my money back? And he was like, bruh, dope soul, nigga. If you want to get your money back, you're gonna have to take it back. And I was like, I was offended at first, but then I was like, I like this guy. That's not nobody's talked to me like that in a while, nigga. I've been in the suburbs my whole since I was 10 years old at this point. So I was like, all right, I like this guy. He's a G. So I was like, nah, it's not even like that, bro. I was just playing with you. Let me get your number though, bro. You're cool. You stay around here? And he was like, nah, I don't stay around here. I'll just be taking the bus right here. My mama be using the address so I could go to a good school. I stay all the way up there. I was like, damn, okay, so you get up, so you just get off right here and you just walk around and do your thing. He was like, yeah, you know that nigga D, which I didn't even know. My friend at that time who went to middle school with me, went to this high school. I was like, nah, I don't know D. And he was like, yeah, he don't be coming to school like that. But so fast forward, I went to go chill with D, walked in his house. Hey, what the hell? You go to high school? You go to Riverwood? So whatever the case may be, I see them bust down this whole zip. A zip is an ounce. And I'm thinking like I was like, hey bro, so how much do you need to actually jump in the game? And he was like, bro, you could literally like nigga, I came up with $5. I was just jugging, bro. I was putting oregano in it and doing all kind of stuff. And he was like, but a good amount to start with is a half. I was like, so how much is a half? Shit, I could get you a half for like $30, but you're gonna have to give me a gram or two. And I was like, hey, bet. So that's how it happened, man. That's how I really got into it. Now, of course, we all know don't get high off your own supply. We all seen Friday, and if you haven't, you're missing out, right? It was not good for me to be smoking bud and selling bud. Horrible idea. I should have been. I started doing other things because I saw how the homie got down. He was a one-stop shop. This man had ills. This man had all kind of. He had like three different type of ills. He had two different types of the green, and he had eventually whatever we came across, he would get it in a large amount and get it off. And how I saw the organization and the structure that he had, I was like, man, I have to be a part of this. So basically, I'll just say it like this: he took me under his wing. We both used to mess up the pack. You know what I'm saying? Because if you, like I said, now what I was doing was I would do everything he would do. Basically, I would have what they call gas now, and I would have the mids. So the gas would go from $20 for the G, which is crazy now, and then the mids would go for $5 for the G, right? And then I will bust down the whole sack into point sixes and point sevens on both ends, and then I would make sure I would get everything that I would profit from, and then I would take that and put that to the side, and then I would have what is my personal. The personal, if I would get a half of this and a half of that, my personal would be like an eighth ish, which would only last me for 2 days. So, which means that if I don't get off this whole zip in less than 3 days, then I'm gonna have to start smoking what I'm supposed to be selling, and then I would have to cut them bags down to even more, which was it happened almost every time until I moved to Chicago because it was a lot more lucrative. Now, there were instances where I had to take things from people or where I had to do things that were necessarily, I mean, all of this was illegal, but basically that's how everything started, man. And when I got a car, now, I mean, at some point when we got out of high school, that's when everything went downhill because we had less access. These people are going to, hold on, apartment that is leased. we had less access. These people are going to school with people, and that's the thing, though. I skipped. I didn't really skip a part, but even though I was doing my thing, is what I like to call it. Um, if an apartment rents, if apartment 512 rents for $700 in a month within 30 days, how much vacancy loss is saved by turning them? Anyways, so basically, I didn't sell. I didn't do my business at school. So it was gonna be before or after school, regardless, because we were. I don't get this question. I'm gonna just make an educated guess. Um, because I didn't do anything at school, it's not. But I wasn't actually losing any money because people typically didn't go from buying to using at that same instance unless it was something that was not uh something that was not green. So if somebody wanted to get some ills or whatever, that you still have to contact me the day before and then pick it up in the morning or after school, and I'm gonna stash it in one of the homegirls' lockers. Um, but at the end of the day, that's how it all happened. Now, I went a lot harder because of the environment I was in, because everybody had money. You know, I went to a school where people's dads were doctors and lawyers and very important accountants and retired football players and things like that. Like this is the I think Riverwood at some point was the best school in the whole Southeast. You know what I'm saying? The best public school in the best school in general, because I think we were above even the private high school that was down the street. I think it was called something. Same, I don't know. Residency process of getting a vacant apartment home ready for its next resident. Um, but everybody had money around me, bro. Everybody was either real broke or real poor. There was very rarely like true upper middle class people. Everybody was fucked up or they were rich as hell. So that's what fueled it because just just being in that middle, and I started making so much money, bro. So much money. I saved enough money. I had a shoebox full of money, bro. And at some point, I had a shoebox full of money. At some point, I did get a job just to fund the trap, and that's when it went crazy. That's when it went crazy. And then we weren't even making money, bro. You got to think, this is 2006, 7. So we were both making like $6 an hour, my nigga. And this is the South. This is Atlanta. $6 an hour. We used to work at Firehouse Subs, still doing our thing on the side, and then put our money together. And again, you got to remember, I'm a kid, bro. So my grandmother and my auntie are still giving me birthday, Christmas money. $200, nigga. Put that in the pot. I'll put that in the pot. Give everybody a zip, and we'll be good. Now, if you might ask me, Aaron Moses, what was the most amount of money you ever had? The most amount of money I had, I can't give you a real number. I know I counted up 12 bands 10 bands, excuse me, at some point. But how we were spending, you got to think, we are spending it, smoking it, going to the movies, shopping every weekend, bro. And this is how my mom found out. She came up to me one day and she was like, Aaron, what are you what are you doing to get money? And I was like, what? I don't have money. And she was like, you haven't asked me for lunch money in like 5 or 6 months. And it's about to be summertime. You got brand new shoes. You got a polos that I know I didn't buy you. I was like, no, you did, but no, nigga. You got these polo jeans. You have every color polo. You got like, you got custom Timberlands. Where are you getting this money? And I was like, that little Jewish girl that drops me off, and she was like, she is not buying you all of that. I haven't seen her in months. Where are you getting this money? She was, and I was starting, and she was like, don't tell me. I'm like, but why'd you ask me? And she was like, look, I don't know if you're robbing banks. I don't know what you're doing. I don't want to know. I don't want to know because if the police ask me and they put me on a lie detector test, I want to be able to pass it. I just want to say this: whatever you're doing, be safe. I was like, okay, mama, I appreciate it. I started walking, but she was like, Now, bills are coming up and you're making money, and since you are making money, it's only right that you help me around the house. And I'm thinking like, hold on, bro. Like you gonna extort me? Now you could do that, or you could go move in with your dad, and you could tell him where you're getting this money from. I was like, oh, I know this mother. I was like, how much do you want, bro? And she was like, well, right now I need $400, but I'll take two. And I was like, all right. And I went, my stupid ass went in the room and went to go get the $200. And she was like, oh, you got it right like that right now? Do you have 400? I was like, hell no, I don't have 400. No, I don't. And she was like, all right, Pablo Escobar. I was like, dude, what's wrong with you, bro? But that's when I was at first it hurt me because she didn't ask me to stop. She didn't ask me if I was in danger. She didn't try to gauge to see how illegal this was. She just asked me for some money. But hey, that's a Chicago mom for you. Shout out to my mom. But at the end of the day, if she sees this, she's gonna be like, "What, Aaron? That never happened." Yes, it did. I remember. I remember a piece of my childhood broke off and fell right down the drain. Because I was thinking, like, bro, I got gun. I mean, I have weapons all in the house. I got people, and you got people knocking at my door, and you get a call, and you run to the park. I'm like, bro, if you know all of this, why are you acting, bro? You went in my room and you opened up and you saw all this merchandise. You know what's up. But at the end of the day, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, no, because we were spending money, and you know what? Even the the more messed up thing was when I was, and I'm gonna expose it all. Look, not at all, but when I was before I even got in the game, I was stealing. I was stealing from my own mom. That's a fact because I had a problem, bro, and I opened Pandora's box, and I wasn't just doing bud. I was doing everything. So yeah, my mom would come home and take her clothes off and go in the shower, and I would go in her pants pockets and get the change out. Not the actual change, but like five, sometimes $20. I would do that. So when I actually start making money, I'm leaving 20, 40, 60, $100 in her in clothes that she's not wearing for the season yet. And in clothes that she was, because at one point I put that's probably when she started catching on. I was putting money in her pants and in her purse, and I heard it like, I didn't go to the ATM. Where's all this money coming from? And I was like, all right, well, I gotta switch it up. So I started putting money in her old purses